I play a lot of beat 'em ups to blow off steam, which is when their simplicity just gives me some turn off my brain fun. But like me, did you also have a little itch to find a beat 'em up that has a good lore to follow? Well, you're actually in the right place because I have 14 games for you to check out. Mother Russia Bleeds, 2016. Developed by Lay Cartel Studio, Mother Russia Bleeds blends the classic actions of Streets of Rage with the neon trippiness of Hotline Miami. And it does it by using this dark, pixelated look, call it dirty even, but it sets the mood well. You play as 4 street fighters now kidnapped by the government to be experimented on with a new drug called Necro. This actually adds a new mechanic to the game where you can collect this drug from beaten enemies and use it to either heal yourself up or go on full berserk, which not only slows down time and makes the screen all trippy looking, but you also get one-hit finisher. Apart from this, you'll also find other melee weapons, which break, or guns that can run out of ammo. As over the top as this may sound, there's a surprisingly good story to follow. The characters you play are overusing this drug, slowly losing their sense of reality and even hallucinating, which made me just want to know why this drug even existed in the first place. And the cherry on top, the ending changes based on your use of the drug. Final Fight, 1989. This one is old but gold. Final Fight was developed and published by Capcom and was actually intended to be a sequel to the original Street Fighter. You get to pick 3 characters that are fairly different: Guy, Cody, and Mike Hagar, who is the mayor of the city this takes place in. And he's the slow but hard-hitting one. The graphics hold up even now, in my opinion, and it looks very detailed, despite the release date. Movement and positioning in this game are key, and it isn't too button mashy, which I found out as soon as I died the first time. The lore? If you like some 80s action hero style story, this one has got it. You're basically rescuing the daughter of the mayor from a gang that's taken over Metro City. It sounds simple, but each character has hard to forget personalities and backstories too. Plus, just imagine, a mayor who hates crime so much he basically goes Hulk mode on enemies? Just an all-around fun game. River City Ransom, 1989. Okay, did you ever think a beat 'em up could get a semi-open world and RPG progression? This one sure did. And it comes from Technos Japan as an NES title. It may look visually different with its large-headed characters, but oh man, did it definitely work with all the expressions they give. Although there's no way to run in this game, but only dash. You can use walls and fences to avoid enemies. Other than that, you get to move in 8 directions, as is expected from this genre. There aren't traditional stages, but as I said, it's kinda open world with interconnected screens. And you move as if it's one giant city. And like any RPG, you start small. Level 1, which means you really can't rush bosses and need to grind out those levels instead. See, enemies are divided into gangs, each with their unique personalities. Some may be tough and aggressive, others not so much, which makes the simple save the girl story a little more unique. Your characters, Alex and Ryan, are just high schoolers solving crime, and the dialogue reflects that silliness too, which makes the game less stressful. Marvel Cosmic Invasion 2025. This one comes from Tribute Games, published by Dotemu, and gives us a good roster of characters and some modernized gameplay elements. You get 15 varied stages of high-quality pixel art, but trust me, characters are very detailed and recognizable. Even their movement style varies, with Spider-Man's web swings or flying as Iron Man. But the gameplay is where you'll see some really cool additions. I love the fact that they kept the RPG progression here. Just made me want to max out all the characters and try them out. But you also get a tag mechanic, something like those in fighting games like Tekken Tag. Bosses too can have a few tricks up their sleeves, like shields that only specific combos can break or strictly via environment damage. But yeah, I love the chaotic fights, and not to forget, the game's parry system, which will of course help at greater difficulties. Although the game does offer a normal mode if you want to see what the story is like, which is quite fun in a comic book kind of way, and it takes the whole Avengers feel to a cosmic level, as the title suggests, because it literally is an invasion of bugs, courtesy of Annihilus. Also, you get to play as Cosmic Ghost Rider, which was tempting enough for me. Double Dragon Gaiden: Rise of the Dragons, 2023. I'm a big sucker for roguelike games, especially seeing so many forms of it recently, but this game, developed by Secret Base, does it in the beat-em-up style. Now, just like a typical roguelite, you have time in between stages to do upgrade, and the stages themselves, well, you get to choose your path just like you would in a roguelite. In this, if you defeat 3 enemies together with a special attack, you get to heal. And roguelites usually have different ways to heal mid-combat. So, it's kind of fun this way and made me want to be a bit more aggressive. Movement can be a bit slower, and the graphics, while they seem vibrant and all, just didn't click with me. I think River City Ransom did the chibi just a bit better, but it more than makes up for it in variety. You start with 4 characters, but can unlock up to 20, and it gives you that roguelite sense of increasing difficulty as you clear more stages and reach the end. Depending on how you play though, the story changes up quite a bit too, and also features a true ending, all while set in this nuclear wasteland-ish looking setting. Streets of Rage 4, 2020. Speaking of revivals, Streets of Rage 4 is a continuation of the classic series and gives you this hand-drawn art style, which looks really crisp and vibrant, and is also playable in online or couch co-op with 3 others. The roster is made up of 6, both new and returning characters, including the return of the series protagonist, Axel Stone, a much older tanky character this time around. The combo system is where this shines. Remember the crazy juggling in Tekken? Yeah, this reminds me of that, with some insane looking moves and even ultimate ones called Star Move, activated by a special pickup. The movement sticks to classics, a walk rather than any dashing or running, so yeah, I had to position myself well to pull off the moves that the tutorial taught, but there's an easy mode where you're basically unstoppable. If you like reading comic books though, that's how this new story is told, with the villains being children of former enemies who are controlling the city through hypnotizing music. Returning casts, continuation of the lore, and the 12 stages of pure badass combo fun, yeah, do check this one out. Battletoads, 2020. This one brings the 1991 classic to our more modern systems and has this hand-drawn cartoony style, very close to something you might have seen on TV, but it's like the cutscenes were low FPS. Something felt off, but I shook it off to focus on the overall package. You get to control 3 toads, the usual fast, balanced, and the slower, hard-hitting one, but they each are quite unique. And with my favorite, the slow toad, turning his limbs into a wrecking ball. But know this, the game frequently switches from the 2D beat-em-up to like a space shooter to that Crash Bandicoot style running away from Big Boulder sequel. So this might actually be an advantage for someone who is new to beat-em-ups or generally doesn't play many of them. Apart from dashing and dodging your way through 22 levels, there's an over-the-top story to follow, and the 3 characters with their goofy chemistry and bickering. So yeah, it's a fun little light-hearted game. It's also a bit of a social commentary because these toads literally have to take up boring jobs to survive, until of course they have to fight an old enemy. Guardian Heroes, 1996. Developed by Treasure, I actually found myself liking the 3 lanes approach to movement in this. And you move between 3 platforms to dodge stuff, along with directional Street Fighter style inputs for combat and massive bosses to face that can literally clear your screen. So yeah, kind of a learning curve there for me. But what surprised me is that along with RPG progression, it also has a karma system, like Red Dead Redemption 2. But in this pixel art anime-looking beat-em-up game, and depending on your actions, you end up changing the story. You get your fantasy-type characters like the Brute, a cleric, a mage, and even a ninja. But there's a special fifth character too. The story has you sandwiched in a war between the earth spirits, who are ancient giants, and the sky spirits, who are godlike beings, and you side with either. But depending on how you play, there are even 7 different endings from what I know. I like my mages, but the fifth character is cool too. No spoilers though. Also, to wind down from the story, you also have an arena mode where you can unlock even NPCs to play at. Like 45 characters in total for this mode. Yeah, I can't believe this was out in 1996. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, 2010. This one was developed by the one and only Ubisoft Montreal, who turned Scott Pilgrim into a modern, retro-looking beat-em-up. There's an RPG progression here as well, presented in this sort of blend of pixelated and comic book style, and of course, you get to play as Scott Pilgrim, plus other characters from the novel too. And Scott is like the balanced one here in terms of combat. I like the idea of having these assist characters helping you mid-fight using a resource you build up called Gut Point. They aren't fully playable though, just help you when you need it. The game may seem slow to start, but because it's an RPG, you can actually put points into your speed, and your movement gets a boost, and you can unlock new moves when leveling up, so it keeps up that feeling of roleplay. There are 7 worlds to get through, but since I started at level 1, I kind of felt the need to grind the first and second levels a bit more, but totally fine by me. Because I found myself actually enjoying the storytelling quite some more because it adapts the absurdness of the comic through the environment and the types of characters you face, although I felt it could use more cutscenes. Jitsu Squad 2021. This one actually feels a lot like a fighting and has this very vibrant cartoon look to it that made me want to try it. And it gets quite fast-paced too. You get to choose 4 characters, you get your balance type, a ranged one, a frog that uses telekinesis, but my favorite is this Viking that uses a hammer to smash. Alright, get this. You don't walk in this one, and you're either constantly running or dashing, but the stages themselves are pretty linear. Think of Streets of Rage 4. There are 8 to get through, but you have options for difficulty if it gets too chaotic with some of the bosses that can juggle you to death. You have a parry mechanic, which took me some time to get used to. Don't judge me. Also, there's an RPG progression here to unlock new moves. Enhanced fury moves during combat using soul orbs you earn after defeating enemies. But the best part is, hands down, the assist characters that even features content creator Maximilian Dude to help you mid-fight. The game has a story where the villain has turned the 4 heroes into animals. It's silly, but it works and even has fourth wall breaking moments. Castle Crasher 2008. The art style may look silly in this one, but trust me, it also gets pretty gory in a sort of funny way. You have to see it to believe. What I like is that, even though you start with 4 characters, the bosses and enemies you defeat can also become playable, which pushes that number to 30. The core of the game is its RPG progression, stat-based leveling, and you get to have an animal floating around you for buffs. But the movement is your normal 8-directional one. The combos are a lot of fun though. There are about 30 stages to clear, and the difficulty felt fine. Although you do unlock an insane mode after completing the game, and yeah, I got destroyed trying it out because every enemy gets a massive health and damage boost. A lot of the lure is visual. You see this really weird looking world and bosses while trying to save the princesses and a stolen crystal from an evil wizard. But trust me, it's dumb fun. TMNT Shredder's Revenge 2022. The same folks behind Marvel Cosmic Invasion made this game. So yeah, similar looking art style, but filled with nostalgia with the original voice cast from the 1987 cartoon. So yeah, there's your hook to check this game out. There's a total of 7 characters to choose from, the usual ones. Although I didn't expect April to be playable here, who literally uses news equipment to fight. Pretty neat for variety though. You can dodge roll in this one, so it doesn't stick to the traditional movement, which feels quite fast-paced. Cause, it would have been a complaint of mine if it weren't the case. Don't worry about landing precise combos in this one. It actually embraces button mashing, and landing moves builds up your special meter for new moves. And filling 3 bars makes you go radical mode, kinda like a berserk mode to give you more speed and power. Also, you can taunt your enemies to fill 1 bar of the meter. Just don't be like me and do it when it's safe, okay? You also have the option to play with 6 people through its 16 stages, so yeah, if you felt the itch for some TMNT stuff like I did, check this one out. It's faithful to the old show. Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, 1993. This was developed by Capcom and was based on the comic Xenozoic Tales by Mark Schultz. So yeah, it's quite story-driven. It's got a retro art style, but it looks quite unique because the world is filled with dinosaurs that can attack both you and the enemies you fight. And there are moments where you get to drive your Cadillac as well, which is honestly one of the reasons I played this game. You get 4 characters here too, each with their unique playstyle, of course. But I heard that Mustafa was the fan favorite, so I went with him. And yeah, I see why. His flying kick really helped with crowd control. I mentioned the dinos and the car as gameplay elements, but apart from that, you have dash attacks, special attacks, and even firearms. The story was the other reason I played, and it takes place in the 26th century, where humans are forced to live underground, and dinosaurs had a bit of a comeback and ruled Earth again. You get 8 stages of this through varying environments, with the base difficulty that increases the more you play. Play it for the story, or for the sick car sequence. Golden Axe, 1989. If you're jumping into some old games, the visuals may not appeal to you at first, but hear me out on this one. It has magic and mounts in a high fantasy setting. Golden Axe has mounts as a gameplay mechanic, which can be used if you knock enemies off, and even features 1v1 duel. There are 3 characters to choose from: a barbarian, an Amazonian, and a dwarf. And each of them can do some magic when you collect these pots during combat. Look, I love dwarves, so I took the chance to play him. He's a bit weak on the magic side, but he felt like he had better reach with his melee move, and that helped me because the movement is slower in this one, but you do get a dash and move up and down the screen. The story might seem quite light, the big bad kidnapping the royal family and all that, but it's the fact that each character has some personal vendetta with the villain that makes the playthrough unique. So yeah, if you want a bit of a fantasy magic setting, go for this one. And there you have it, folks. These were 14 beat-em-ups for those who want a bit of story alongside some fun gameplay as well. Each of these games offers its unique spin on the genre, but just makes that little extra effort to give you some lore to dive into while you smash through enemies. Let us know your favorite. And also, if you think there are other games who deserves to be on this list, comment down below, and I'll see you on the next one.